Karma appears to be a wrathful bitch right now. There's a lot of people who saw so fit as to kick me in the ding-a-ling-a-ling. Philosophically, of course. Emotionally, of course. There's a few people that actually wanted to mess with my ding-a-ling-a-ling, but it ain't a tallywhacker. It ain't for you. It's not a bedpost. You don't get a notch. I did want to make sure to say happy marikwanzajuanica, or whatever you celebrate. I personally don't give two shits as long as you're not hurting people. And that seems to be the problem that all of America has right now. It's beautiful. Oh, I just got another friend suggestion from one of my predators. Her name is Laura Moran, and she is a drug addict who's supposed to be the peer support and homeless advocate in Hood River. She is not, though. She works for a lady named Karen. Whether or not Karen's on drugs, I don't know. Laura Moran, on the other hand, yeah, she's for certainly on drugs. Now, do I hate these people? Oh, hell no. There's a difference between hating and needing change. When you live with your dad and he rapes you every day, what you need is change. Do you need a therapist, or do you need to be out of your dad's house? You need to be out of your dad's house, and if a therapist ain't going to help with that, you don't need a therapist. Of course, you also know that if you're not heard the first time, it gets a lot worse from there, doesn't it? Yep, of course it does. Now, there's a lot of people that want to pretend that because I told on Officer Waylon Lolatai that I'm some sort of schizophrenic, delusional nut job. But where is Waylon Lolatai today? Turns out the things that I said about him are absolutely true. Not just Waylon Lolatai, though. Look at Polly Olson. Yep. Turns out what I said about her is absolutely true. How about Sarah Nelson Torciello? Yep. How many of the predators that I tried to turn in have since been arrested and incarcerated for doing those exact things to others? Clearview Behavioral Health literally killed a man doing what they did to me. And then they changed the name from Clearview Behavioral Health to Johnstown Heights. Kind of sounds like a Nazi stronghold, don't it? Well, Heights isn't strictly German. A lot of times on the History Channel, you can see the Battle of Seelau Heights in Germany between the Red Army, Marshal Zhukov, Comrade Zhukov, I should have said. There's a lot of people here who have done messed up things, and I don't hate them for it. I hate what they did. Big difference. There's a lot of people who had good intentions at the start, but their own mental issues got in the way. Like Vicky Rain and her personality disorders. And, of course, John with his drug addictions. See, y'all pretend that my first response is just to flip out for no fucking reason. No, I'm having to deal with people who are volatile. People who are actual drug addicts. Natalie Bollinger, an actual drug addict. Tim Beeson, actual drug addict. Alicia Bollinger, actual drug addict. A lot of actual drug addicts. Now, many of y'all are wanting to sit home with your families. Many of y'all are sitting alone, contemplating sticking that gold-plated pussy pistol in your face. Yeah, they're not usually gold-plated, are they? Usually it's nickel-plated. But the gold coloration is real popular in the IMI Desert Eagle. It's Israeli Military Industries, by the way. The company that designed the Desert Eagle is Magnum Research out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The only reason that they had IMI make their guns is because of Israel's quality standards. Every Israeli working at the factories that make those guns knows that an Israeli soldier may need to depend on that for their life. That includes possibly the factory workers' mothers, sisters, aunts, or even grandmothers. Possibly even their daughters. That's right. In Israel, both men and women defend the country. I have to deal with a lot of predators, but at least I'm aware of them, whereas you guys seem to be intentionally clueless. There's a difference between not seeing and looking the other way. If you legit didn't see something, that's understandable. If you intentionally look away, that's not. That's how Americans want to do things. They want to bitch, whine, moan, and complain, but when it happens to somebody else, they don't give a shit. Cops kill an autistic person by injecting them with ketamine. It was the cops who requested that. It's not just a polite suggestion when they say it. Except that police do not have the right to do that. And neither do the hospitals. There needs to be actual effective change. That means actually getting involved. But you don't get involved. You will let them take your neighbors. Martin Niemöller. This guy's actually pretty famous. What's he famous for? Is he famous because he was a U-boat captain in World War I? No, but he was a U-boat captain in World War I. Was he famous for being a Lutheran preacher? No, but he was a Lutheran preacher. The man survived Dachau and Auschwitz, and I am absolutely certain I pronounced both of those wrong. The two most famous concentration camps, Martin Niemöller was at both of them. Is that what he's famous for? No. He's famous for a poem he wrote about the experience. It's called When They Came. When they came for the socialists, I did nothing because I am not a socialist. When they came for the trade unionists, I said nothing because I was not a trade unionist. When they came for the Jews, I said nothing because I was not a Jew. And when they came for me, there was nobody left to speak up for me. That's on the Holocaust Memorial. Was Martin Niemöller a Jew? No, he was a political dissident, just like me. Somebody who did not bow down to the status quo. Someone who said, my life is worth something, and if I am going to give it up, if I am going to lose my life no matter what, well, I'll just make sure that I'm on the right side of morality. If I'm going to go to prison, it'll be for saving people, not slaughtering them. If I'm put in prison, it'll be for protecting people, not perpetrating. When it becomes absolutely necessary for me to scream at the top of my lungs and curse, that's what I'm willing to do. Here in this parking lot, if I have to scream, have to yell, have to shout, I will. If I have to curse because people want to talk over me and downplay literally everything that I'm telling them, I'll curse, no problem. The biggest problem that I have as far as teaching people, it's easier to teach people about a situation like this, and the safest route to do so. It's a lot easier to do it that way than it is to jump through a bunch of expensive hoops. Oh God, my fucking fingers are frozen. On the bright side, I got 2 of these cans for $11 last night. So I wasn't completely frozen all night, but holy hell, it was cold. You get to see my interactions with the drug addicts out here. Am I mean to them? Am I cruel to them? A lot of people don't like my opinions about druggies. Well, the fact that I'm saying druggies when spouting those opinions should show you that they're not my opinions. Of course, a lot of y'all assume that because I'm autistic that it means that I don't understand sarcasm. Most of the autistic people that I know are masters of sarcasm. They can also keep a straight face. It's a lot easier for us than it is for you. I believe in doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. That includes speaking up. Includes, but not limited to. Tomorrow's a holiday for a bunch of people, which is pretty cool, isn't it? It's a Christian holiday. Most of our bank holidays are based on Christian holidays. Most of them. And state holidays. How many of y'all hate bank holidays? In rural areas, there is one bank holiday that is hated more than any other. You can tell that because as soon as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day comes around, millions of rednecks nationwide, well, they don't call it Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, do they? If you've ever lived in a small town, you know what they call it. And you know that all those people are just pissed off because that one day of the year, the bank is closed. How many bank holidays are there in a year? There's a lot. That's one of the ways that they're able to maximize profit. For every day that's a state holiday or a Christian holiday, a bank holiday, that's a day where you're not paying any of the bank workers, but you're still collecting interest. Anyway, happy marikwanzajuanica. I hope you have a wonderful day. Hopefully, the Jews and the Palestinians magically start getting along. Many people in the United States don't seem to get the gravity of the situation in Israel. There's a lot of LGBT community folks who don't realize that if they were in the Gaza Strip, they'd be dead. They would be D-E-A-D, dead. You don't get to be a homosexual in the Gaza Strip. It's against those folks' religious beliefs. And they will literally kill you for being a homosexual. See, Palestinians in the Gaza Strip aren't much different from rednecks. They don't care what the fucking law says. They're going to get their guns if they have to make them themselves. They don't care what the law says. They hate Jews. Right now, they slightly, here in America, slightly hate black people and immigrants more than they hate Jews, but only just slightly. See, that's something that I just don't understand. I don't understand how it is that ignorant rednecks here in America and the Palestinians don't get along a lot better. Oh yeah, difference of religion, but not in methodology. The Islam that we're seeing out of Hamas, that's not Islam. How many of y'all Christians have read the Quran? Most of you claim that the Bible says not to. The Quran wasn't around when the Bible was written, bud. The Quran was written many years later. Islam today is modeled after Judaism. Did you know that? But it's modeled after ancient Judaism. That's the Judaism that Jesus practiced. See, in Islamic nations, Your teachers and educators use the Quran to teach you, especially in your younger years. The Jews use the Torah as their educational book. This is your mathematics book. This is your arithmetic book. This is your spelling book. This is your book of law. This is your social studies book. For the Jews, it was the Torah. And for the Muslims, it's the Quran. When it comes to halal, this is basically a bunch of rules about what Muslims are allowed to eat. And if you take a look at halal, and then you look at God's law for the Jews 2,000 years ago, the Muslims follow halal. It's exactly the same thing, except today we use the term kosher, don't we, if it's Jewish. But also, kosher is a lot more rules that have been accumulated over the last 2,000 years. These three religions are very closely tied together. The children of Abraham, the children of Isaac. Now, there's a lot of people who keep saying, oh, well, Palestine needs to have its own country. Israel gave Palestine its own country more than once. The Palestinians didn't want it. They didn't want anything from the Jews except for them to all die. Something that they're asking for to this day. We've got people holding generational grudges. Oh, well, my family had that land for hundreds of years. Well, that may be true. But your family lost that land, just like many other people throughout history have lost that land. Take a look at the Donbass region. How many of those people lived there for years and years before being expelled? And it doesn't matter which side they were expelled by. The fact is that was their generational home. Here in the United States, nobody has a generational or ancestral home anymore. Nobody. It's all about maximizing profit. I don't care what religion you are, I care how you treat others. But also, if you have no other option, I'm capable of understanding that. When you've gone to the police about the guy next door threatening to kill you and your family repeatedly, he's come to your door, beating on your door, he's come to your house with a gun before, and now he's at your house again with a gun at your front door trying to kick it in. When you tell your family to go upstairs, you know that gunman, if he comes inside, he's going to want to go upstairs. He's going to hear you screaming that to your family, but that's not why you're screaming it. You're screaming it so the son of a bitch hears you, and when he gets through the door, you can flank his dumb ass. You didn't want the problems, you didn't want the trouble, but you also don't think that you and your family should have to fear for your lives, and you don't think that you should be dealing with this same person after all this time when you've tried going to the police. Now, if you got a family and a home, the police are more likely to listen. Out here on the streets, we don't have that luxury. You call every shooter mentally ill. No, some of those people are very well justified in what they did. That's justified according to the opinions of the American public. For the most part, Americans, their idea of putting a stop to it is nearly always violent. And the more poor they are, the more likely it is that violence is going to be the only solution that they'll seek. Because the more poor you are in the United States, the less rights you have. Happy marikwanzajuanica. For the rest of your days, it's your problem-free philosophy. Marikwanzajuanica. Now, how many of y'all have good ideas about how to fix this? And how many of you really have the education to understand it? Lots of people, especially women, have these real quick 5-minute ideas. Shit that I've actually seen work for women. Never seen it work for a man. Now, there's some stuff that I do see that works for men sometimes. There are men whose mothers are still a part of their lives. The helicopter mom types. If you have one of those, you could be 35 years of age, do the world's shittiest things, live in your mama's basement, she'll still hook you up, she'll still help you out. There's a woman who thinks she should be allowed to have opinions. She's 23 years of age. She's got a YouTube channel. And she basically just gets on there and talks shit about everybody who didn't get a pampered fucking princess life like she got. You hear her talking and you hear her opinions and you realize that she grew up in a racist family. But she thinks because she got all of these perks growing up that she's a better person than everybody else, and she knows better than everyone else. But she's lived a very pampered life. Basically under a rock with manservants and maidservants. Her opinions are based on her pampered experiences, on her privileged life. And she has it in her head that everyone gets to have that pampered and privileged life. That those who don't have that pampered and privileged life, it's because they chose not to. They chose not to have parents that were sober. They chose not to have parents that owned a 5-bedroom house. All these people whose quick fix is, oh, well, you just need to get a lawyer. Lawyers don't have any morality whatsoever. There isn't a single lawyer in this country who is morally guided. If you are morally guided, you're not going to be a lawyer for long, because it only takes one court date to realize that the whole fucking system is screwed up. I have to deal with a lot of bullies, and I speak up about them. Now, there's a feller who's typing at me. I kept his name out of the thing that I made about him. I made a lot of insinuations. Of course, before I made any of them insinuations, I explained the situation first. When you come on my channel for years and years for entertainment, and you literally do nothing to help out the situation, you just keep coming back for entertainment, keep coming back just to stir the mud, well, I might give you a tiny taste of what I have to go through every day. Why don't you stop being a fucking asshole? Because I'm an asshole back. Why don't you stop bullying people? I bully back. There's some stuff that is entirely believable, but most of your bullshit isn't. This feller who I kept his name out of it, he wanted to get on and comment a whole bunch. Like, all right, if that's what you want to do, that's how I ended up with Walnez's name. He wanted to get on and harass me for speaking up. How dare I speak up? Did he allow me to defend myself? Fuck no, he didn't. So does he get the opportunity to defend himself? Not on my channel. Because he wasn't defending himself. He was just bullying. It's easy to get rid of on YouTube. Not so easy in real life. When you talk over the victim, you're not helping anybody out. You're making things worse for them, and you're making things worse for yourself, especially when you've got a great idea that you're going to push like it's fucking crack. How about instead of trying to give ideas, why don't you fucking listen to understand? Why don't you try calling them and listening one-on-one? There's a lot of stuff that I can't say on my YouTube channel. Imagine that. Censorship in America. A lot of people with all this shit going on wanted to say shit like, oh, well, they're not going to allow anything from Facebook in court. Are you kidding me? My predators were allowed to have a lot of stuff from Facebook put in court. When you say shit like that, you're literally not listening to the victim. You're making excuses to do nothing. And that's where most of the people who pretended to be my friends fucked up. They pretended to be my friends. We were friends when they were able to get free shit out of me. Free manual labor. Free meals. Free blankets. None of that shit was actually free. Nobody in America is actually free. We're not human beings. The more broke we are, the more Americans shit on us. I cannot in good conscience consider myself an American because I stand up to these pieces of shit. Happy marikwanzajuanica.